Inside this museum, here would be an old phone box. Those was the old-fashioned ones. They utilized how they kept in touch. These old relay units. And yes, the telegraph key. An old phone. The old-fashioned phones here were how they kept it going. The helper crews. They used this cart here to take stuff to a baggage car or whatever. This old building used to be, it was built in 1883, shown there, and it was for the shipyards. Here's some lanterns from an old from the observation lounges. Here's the freight office relocation, which was located in 83. Old number, which kind of was in place until all the way this steamer first got positioned in 83, and then where else be? That's the current location. Now, here's how every rail line changes. It says here. In 1800s, it was 54 hours over 7 days walking, 40 hours over 5 with horseback riding, horses pulling an old covered wagon. It took about 16 hours over 2 days. But an old steamer would a steamer made it less than 1 day. Diesel would have made it even less. As of the year diesels took over completely. Here's some of the Raleigh Railroad artifacts there. Here, of course, is the Civil War. Starting here, there's the General down there, which is found in Kennesaw, Georgia, which actually got hijacked. As you can hear, what happened was these guys go locomotive general at Mount Kennesaw. They attempted on using the general. It's now at the Big Shanty Station, which is, and after 5 hours, and this steamer was hijacked, it was out of steam, and the forces were captured. They were hung. Here's some memories of people who were over there.
The museum moved into larger quarters in the former ACL freight office, located across.
This year, here's some old trolley systems, and they were electric like that.
We moved into this location.
This is an old antique furniture device. Of course, brotherhoods and unions, just like in most guys, it was mostly men. Back then, the Knickers and brakemen were in the rear of any steam train. And yes, but it's now in the cab with diesels. Here, those were lapel pins. Roll wave. They're used over the years. This end here is where some females joined in a little later. It was mainly done in, looks like 49. Started in 49. So a couple of years before diesels took over. And then finally here. And yes, sometimes the black got this. We're still discriminated in the old days, which is quite offended. All that changed in 55 when all the year diesels took over. Here's an ACL crew which stood up for their rights, actually. I think they should have. And I'll tell you, there is such a thing as a sleeping car, commonly referred to as Pullman. Shown here. There's George M. Pullman, the guy who designed it. Here's the right setup, and more. Well, it's fine here. There's some keys for the sleeping cars that they had to keep. Yes. They're starting to change year by year. All the way from in 1876, it was an old Woodside style heavyweight. Think has field appearances in 1887. In 1891, it became a full one, and then it became steel altogether in 1907. Shown there, and they're still around today for some of them. Here's dining on the train, which is, you will find a dining car right there, which is used when they, and yes, this is silver from the Atlantic coastline altogether. And it's pretty much the same as others, just the color's different. Here would be, of course, the railway post office, commonly known as the RPO, which was shall snagged mailbag is shown there. End of the RPO when a steam or diesel passenger train sped past. This was usually over the first or second coach. And there's the mail getting sorted. These are big mailbags here. Here's a locomotive bell, steam bell, which is still used today. And of course, up here is a railroad crossing sign. When you come to that, you gotta be careful. There's a post. That's number 245 for the mile mark. Yeah, here's a danger, no trespassing sign. Be careful there, or else you'll get in a heap of trouble. There's a railroad crossing sign. This is the advance warning in yellow. This here is an old-fashioned semaphore signal, which means it is an armed signal, really. That vertical is green, diagonal will be yellow, horizontal red. This signal right in front of me is a dwarf signal, which is a short one. There it shows yellow, slow approach, red. That'll be medium approach. Okay. And that's red. You'd have to hold it until you get a green. Here's a no smoking sign there. And of course the whistle post, which means called a steam whistle or air horn. These is our position here. This is the top brass areas. It means this area here. The present metal part, and that may be CSX, which took over Atlantic coastline. And yeah, you don't want to forget railroad police, because they do you a favor. They're the king of cops that never fool around. See, they will give you that. But you do, yes, they still use these handcuffs when they catch bad guys. These are the office workers. And yes, they have an old-fashioned typewriter here, which was invented before computers were even. And here's the Atlantic Coastline Railway map, which is real tiny and difficult. Here's everything in the ACL in the 20th century, which means, just 2000 at max. And that CSX logo, which is today. Early 1980s when it merged with CSX, but CSX altogether was formed in 85, 86. Here's McDowell Davis. A champion McDowell Davis. There's some F-Series diesels, F-Freeze, I think. No, there is rail safety. Once again, the little lantern. red block lantern. There's a crossing bell. It's a coupling, but this one is not standard. That's a standard coupling down there. You gotta be careful because on some of these, the coupling is not standard, meaning that normal procedures cannot be used. And finally comes the little lantern. Here's an engineer and fireman, which are in the cabs of the old steamers. And see the steamer? His fireman was called the steamer's firebox. This is the conductor, this guy here. When he yells all aboard, you gotta be ready. Like, oh, you gotta be ready. Before he shows up, like that, when he yells all aboard, you definitely have to be ready. Or else you get left behind. These are some handy tools. They're still used today. Only difference, they use a maintenance truck instead of these tool carts. These are the old-fashioned strap rails, which actually were a pain in the butt. Two days. Very good there, 87. Which could hold the weight of a CSX freight. J through O look identical completely. That standard gauge. There's an old switch. The manual switch, so to speak. That was good. This is the station counter that you'll see when you come to a terminal. Make sure you catch the right train, right bus, whatever. This is an old maintenance device. That noise is that screen there. This is a motorized cart which replaced hand carts. Down here stands Guinness World Record, which is an SD45. Diesel of some kind. Now if you follow this gap, these are baggage which will be loaded into the baggage car, which is the lead coach behind the locomotives of heavyweights. Here we'll follow this O scale consists of Atlantic Coastline, E7s and coaches.